Welcome to Dollars and Cents, a monthly finance podcast presented by Altra Federal Credit Union and the Leighton Media Podcast Network.
Welcome to Dollars and Cents on the Leighton Media Podcast Network. I am Jason Malillo. We welcome in Kirsten Wallace from Altra Federal Credit Union. Kirsten is a solution specialist team leader. Kirsten, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing very well. Thank you so much for coming in. First of all, before we get into some of the topics we're going to discuss today, we're going to talk about financial coaching, why people might need a financial coach, what exactly is involved in that. But you are a solution specialist team leader at Altra. Tell me exactly what that is and what you do over there.
Yes. So I meet with members, help them out with certain things that they need. Might be opening an account. It might be being there to lend an ear to them as far as what their financial needs might be. I do loans. I help members out with any types of requests that they might have. Yeah. So it's kind of like the solutions specialist to their solution or their problems.
Yeah. So you it's a very wide ranging thing that you do. And
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Right. That's what I always say too. That's a very good way to put it. So let's get right into this. Why is talking to a financial coach beneficial for people, who might have some questions about finances? Finances can be an overwhelming thing, can be very something that people have a hard time wrapping their head around. So how can a financial coach maybe break that down, make it simpler for people to understand?
Yeah, so it's a good way to meet with somebody that, that has zero judgment. You might be starting off from fresh out of high school and have no idea what you're, stepping into the real world. So it could be a one-on-one plan with them of figuring out how they get their first credit card, how do they establish credit, all the way to I am in over my head. I don't know where to go from here. I have maxed out all of my credit cards. And it could be I have money set aside and I don't know what to do with it. So it's not always the negative. That's what people kind of have tendencies towards when they see a financial coach or something like that. They might have nerves of, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to talk to anybody about this. But again, there's zero judgment with us. We just open the door for, any possible solutions. People don't know what they don't know. So that's, as far as a financial coach goes, that's what we're there to do, to educate them on things that they don't know.
And do you try and be in a situation where people can check in with you on a regular basis, even if they just have, what might seem like a simple question, or even, what they would think of as a dumb question,
Yes.
Is it just like, just call us up and just check in with us and just bounce some ideas off of each other? Yeah.
So when we set up a meeting that they maybe want to come in and they just have general questions, yes, absolutely. They can reach out. We, exchange, contact information. They can, call at any time. They can email. What you say per se, dumb question. I always say that a dumb question is the one that they don't ask because, again, they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah. We'll go into types of topics that you might want to talk about with a financial coach. Let's go through these one by one if we can. So setting financial goals would be the first one. Elaborate on that a little bit for us, Kirsten.
Yeah. So again, reverting back to, it could be from the kid just graduating high school. They've had their graduation party. Now they have all this money they don't know what to do with. They might not be going to college, which is okay. Yeah. That might not be the road that they want to go down. So, finding out what their next few years goals might be. So they might be just working. So we're going to say, okay, well, we have certificates available that you could, lock your money in, have your money work for you while you work to figure out what you want to do for your next goal. It could be that they have money set aside already and they don't know, what their plans are. So giving them advice on what products and services that we have to offer, really getting to know that person and what their goals are as far as, their family life goes, what their career goals are. Are they moving in the next 6 months? So it's a lot of questions.
A lot of considerations. Yeah. Well, I think it's also pretty fascinating because you talk about setting financial goals. if people set some of these goals when they are, say they're teenagers, like you said, who maybe go right out into the workforce after high school, or even college graduates, if you start saving money and setting financial goals in your late teens or early 20s, right? You don't even have to put a lot of money away and things like that, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
that money will grow over the course of your working life, and you can potentially be in a good situation to retire early, to have some,
Yes.
money to enjoy the so-called golden years. So that's so important to set those financial goals really early in your life, right?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree. Mm-hmm.
And so budgeting is something that is obviously important. And a lot of people, come out of their parents' home where they don't have to think about budgeting ever when they're kids. What do you tell people about budgeting and some of the things they really need to know right away?
Yeah, so not overspending, knowing what you have coming in monthly and what you have going out monthly. So making sure that you have a budget of knowing what exactly is coming in and out is very important, because sometimes people tend to overspend and then they don't have enough money at the end of the month.
Right. How important is prioritizing?
Huge, because if you don't prioritize it, you're going to be up a creek without a paddle.
Yeah, right. And I think it's, we're sort of inundated with all this new stuff, right? You want the new stuff, but sometimes you can't afford it.
Exactly.
You just have to accept that, I think, and maybe, plan long term for the stuff that you want.
Yeah, and
versus
set aside money for that in
Right.
the future.
Yeah, and that's a problem. Credit reports and, credit score and that kind of thing. Again, one of those things that a lot of people don't understand.
Yes.
How do you advise people on that?
Your credit will affect you for the rest of your life. So, making sure that you make those payments on time, telling young people or even people in their mid-age too of what credit can do for you. I mean, as far as getting a job, that could affect you from getting a job in a financial. It could be preventing you from getting into a house that you want to get into,
Right.
or an apartment, because there's a lot of times where young people will get into a credit card and they were like, well, I don't have money to pay this, so I'm not going to pay it. And then they forget about that. 3 years goes down the road and, they're applying for an apartment and they forgot about this credit card that's
Right.
still out there, and that's going to negatively impact them.
Yeah. Is it not advantageous to have no credit versus maybe having bad credit? I mean, in other words, people have bad credit. We hear about that all the time. It can
Yes.
kill a loan. It can affect you. But if you have no credit, is that also a negative?
It can be, yes, depending on what you're applying for, what you want, what the next steps are
Yeah.
in your financial goal or journey. The having no credit, depending on, so like if they came to, let's say Altra to get a credit card, depending on the limit that they're asking for. So if they're a younger person, maybe say up to their 30s or 40s, and they don't have any credit, we would wonder why they
Right.
haven't had any credit. So it could negatively impact depending on the situation.
Yeah. Because I always think about it, if you don't have any credit, you can't have bad credit.
Right.
If you're a cash under the mattress kind of person,
Yes,
you might
and
think,
there's those out there.
yeah, you might think that's safer, but in a way, in the grand scheme of finance and kind of the way the financial world works, you need some credit,
Yes.
in order to just make it seem like you're not risky, I guess, or something like that. But
Yes.
and reducing and managing debt. This is something that obviously a lot of people, especially young people, get into trouble with. They don't realize that they're getting into debt. They don't realize how credit cards work and those kind of things. So what about this? I would imagine that early education on this is important, right?
Yes, couldn't agree more. I know there's a lot of things that we do. We'll go into schools. We talk to students young on about with junior achievement. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them,
Yeah.
but we go to the schools and we teach classes. We also have one of our employees too. He goes out into the schools and he actually teaches high school students about that. We have reality stores where they come in and they live a day in the life of an adult, and life hits you where, car
Yeah.
breaks down and you weren't expecting that. Nobody expects the unexpected.
Yeah.
So really, driving home that it's important to have safe savings set aside for those uneventful things that happen.
Yeah. Are credit cards important in the way that maybe you should only have them for emergencies or mostly for emergencies? I mean, is that something that...
Yes and no. I guess depending on how well you're able to manage and budget that. There's a lot of people that use credit cards. That's all they use, and they pay it off at the end of the month, because there are credit cards out there that have rewards that
sure.
they maybe plan their family trip on, or they get cash back.
Right.
But a good rule is to not borrow more than 30% of the limit that you have.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
that's a good rule of thumb. Yeah, I always forget about the rewards. I always forget that a lot of people just base a lot of their spending on those rewards, right? And
Yes.
if you do it in the right way and you're still paying it off and not racking up the interest charges, then that can be really beneficial for
Absolutely,
people, right?
yeah, because you don't. It's interest free.
Right.
You pay it
yeah.
off.
Yeah, exactly. The difference between a financial advisor and a financial coach, right?
Yes.
What is that difference?
Yeah, so there's always some confusion. So an advisor typically handles finances as it relates into wealth management. So it could be like a 401k and a large inheritance that they might have received, investments, life insurance, and then retirement planning.
Mm-hmm. And then with a coach, are you, encouraging people, I guess, to, make that, is that an ongoing relationship, or is it something that's just like a one-time kind of thing? How does that usually go, or does it run the gamut?
It could be either one.
Yeah.
We advise the members that come in that we're there to guide them through anything that they need to. So we put the ball in their court. This is what we can do for you. We can set a budget, we can set a goal, we can work you through whatever you need to. But then, if they don't want to continue forward, then that would be on them.
That's their choice.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Is it a situation where it's sort of, maybe you start with a financial coach, and then progress to a financial advisor as you
Yes.
accumulate more wealth or more equity?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. How would that process go? Would there be like, a time for a right time for people to do that? Does that just kind of depend on their personal financial situation?
Yeah, it would kind of depend on their personal situation, depending on where they're at. So again, if they come into a large inheritance or a large sum of money that they're looking to invest, we would suggest meeting with a financial advisor. There's kind of some sort of questions that we ask them to preface getting over to the advisors.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be how long are you looking to put this money away? How much are you looking to put away? That sort of thing. So yeah, there's a definite, say, like handoff point.
Yeah. There's a sweet spot for everybody, and it would just
Exactly.
depend on the individual. Yeah. If people do want to set up a meeting with a financial coach, how would they do that, Kirsten?
Yeah, there's a variety of different ways. They can go on our website. They can stop into the branch. They can call our member contact center, and they also have a chat feature. So if maybe they're at work or something on their lunch break and they just have a quick few minutes, they can send a message. They can. There's a variety of different ways.
Yeah. And in September, you guys are asking your members to have what's called a financial health checkup, right?
Yes.
We talk about going to the doctor regularly to address our physical health, our mental
Absolutely.
health, but our financial health, also obviously a big part of our lives. What can people expect from the financial health checkup?
Yeah, so there's a lot of questions. It doesn't get too personal, but it helps you figure out where you are as far as within your financial wealth area. They can expect to answer kind of basic questions like, do you have enough money at the end of the month, or are you living paycheck to paycheck? Those sorts of questions, kind of just gauging where people are in that aspect.
Yeah. Do you find that some people, or maybe a lot of people, come in, when they are maybe more into their working life and then have realized they need a financial coach, or is it something more people come in when they're younger, or does that kind of depend?
It depends. Life happens and you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's all sorts of different ages. It can be anywhere from, like I said, go back to younger generation, or it could be middle, or it could be, a spouse, their spouse passed away and now they don't know what to do because that spouse did all of the finances and they don't know where the next step is. Where do they go for this? How do they pay this? It's a wide variety of people.
In that situation, that's a good point you bring up, because maybe you had a spouse or a partner who did all of the finances and you just have no idea. Are you kind of starting from square one with those people? Do you kind of try and take it down to the most basic level and just move them along very slowly?
Yeah, so that would be, we would sit down with them and literally we would have to go through statements and figure out what bills they have coming out, how they're being paid, how much money they have coming in, and going through the ropes with them and really hand-holding them per se, in getting them where they need to be.
Kirsten Wallace is our guest. She is a solution specialist team leader at Altra Federal Credit Union. You were listening to Dollars and Cents on the Leighton Media Podcast Network. Kirsten, when people do come in, for a financial coach for you guys, how organized should they be when they come in? What should they bring with them, as far as, accounts, statements, their financial situation? Should they bring things in like that to show you guys? Yeah,
that would be a great thing. Most people don't come prepared, so because they don't know what they need yet. So it could be, so the first meeting usually is just I always kind of refer to as a meet and greet, figure out, who they are as a person, what they're looking to do, what we can help them with, what we can't help them with. And then, yes, I would for sure recommend bringing in any sort of statements, credit card statements. If there's things in collections, we can't review your credit report with you. So there is, you can get your credit report through annualcreditreport.com, and they can print all of that out. And that would be super beneficial, because then we can go through and see what's out there, what they need help with, what they're struggling with.
Right.
That would be a huge win.
Yeah. You think about coaches. When we think about coaches, we think of mostly in the sports vernacular, right? And coaches have different approaches to the way that they deal with their players. Are your coaches, dealing with certain clients and certain people in different ways, and just sort of meeting them where they are, I guess? Yeah,
everybody has their strengths, of ways to approach different things. And I would agree that, members also have, they're, like you said, just like players, they have different, I don't want to say attitudes, but different, the right word
approaches.
For that. Different approaches. Yeah. Of how they want to, how they think something might go. So, it's all a learning curve. You figure out who that person is, and then you adjust and adapt to the best way possible that you can help them.
You said you guys do some things, in schools, reaching out to younger people. Say I have a kid who is, coming to the age where he or she is starting to get a job, even if it's just an after school job, they're not making much money, but they do have this money coming in. You addressed this a little bit before, but is it never too early to, maybe just meet and greet with that financial coach and just sort of learn, I have a job now, I'm making this much money, here's what I can expect? Because I think it kind of sets the tone for people to be financially intelligent going forward in the rest of their lives, right?
I couldn't agree more. The earlier the better. Then that way they have that wealth of knowledge to make them successful as they grow older.
All right, we will leave it there, Kirsten. Thanks so much. That is Kirsten Wallace. She is a solution specialist, team leader at Altra Federal Credit Union. Kirsten, thanks so much.
Yes,
Appreciate you coming in.
Dollars and Cents is a monthly podcast presented by Altra Federal Credit Union and the Leighton Media Podcast Network. Find this and other podcasts on demand at WinonaRadio.com.